Hello, one and all. This is my review of My Hero Academia, Chapter 298, Sounds of Collapse, and just, Jesus freaking Christ, All for One is evil. I mean, I think that should have been obvious at this point, but seriously, he released all the prisoners, not just of Tartarus, but of 6 other prisons, and I assume last chapter, this is to build up his army, this was to take over the world. No! He did all of this just to cover up his escape. Just because the heroes would be too busy saving people from being murdered to come after him. Jesus freaking Christ! I can't even begin to count the number of casualties, the number of deaths in the thousands upon thousands that are going to happen because of that, all just for the sake of him being able to escape a little easier. Wow. Also, they kind of skipped over what happened in Tartarus, and I have a, lot of questions about that. Overhaul, the Rainbow Hood Girl. I don't think they managed to recruit Korgiri, because if they did, they could have just used him to teleport into the prisons instead of having to take a plane, so I don't think they have him. Then there's Stain. I mean, there's no way Stain would have agreed to work with him, but still, I feel like, that would have been a very, very violent confrontation between the two forces. Anyway, then he gets where he wants to go. Some safe place he managed to set up for himself where, he could go to rest whenever he needed to avoid authorities. Doesn't look all that far from the city either, so curious about that? And then we just get a really great moment from Spinner. He talks about how, he and Shigaraki actually managed to bond over gaming and stuff. Oh, I love that. I freaking love that. I would take an entire spin-off series just of Spinner and Shigaraki reviewing games. Oh, that'd be amazing. That'd be absolutely freaking amazing. And it makes sense, when Shigaraki first showed up, he kept, basically referring to things as games, All Might's final boss. He tried to approach it with, level 1 equipment. He needs to go up, level up, and then come back, take on the final boss, stuff like that. So it does make a lot of sense. And I'm pretty sure we said that Spinner was a shut-in otaku before he joined the most dangerous terrorist organization on the planet. So it makes sense they would bond over that, but... All for One's response is very, very creepy. Have no fear. I hold the greatest respect for Tomura as well. This body simply needs time to rest and be perfected, but once it is, our desires will come to fruition. Again, he said, I care a whole bunch about what Tomura thinks. But then he quickly spins it over and says, our will come to fruition. So... I'm not exactly sure which part of that I should believe. Is he saying, he does actually care about Tomura, he's just doing what Tomura wants him to do, this is what they both want? Or is he basically saying that sooner or later he's gonna, force Shigaraki's will to become his own, and then therefore they will just be like one person, more or less? It's just really, really creepy for a whole lot of reasons. And then we get to see what's going on with Redestro, or more accurately, the copy of Redestro that was made by Twice, so that he could, continue his terrorist operations while at the same time running his multi-million-dollar business. I am a little confused by this whole scenario, exactly what's going on here, but it seems like the Public Safety Commission came to Redestro with a joint development proposal. He's aware that they knew he's a terrorist, but he figured, they thought he was just too valuable to leave out in the dark, and that together they can work to create a better world, to create a world that's a little bit closer to his ideals. Though that seems to have just been a trap to lure him out so that they could come in and take him down. At the same time, all the other heroes are fighting all the other villains, which is kind of sad because, he's just a double, he's just a duplicate. So if they had just waited a little bit, he would eventually, fallen apart on his own. Oh, I love that. But really though, they put out some good bait here. That's the president of the safety commission, literally the person in charge of the whole thing who has been severely wounded and might actually have been killed by the Redestro copy, as well as the dude who was in charge of the hero licensing exam. Interesting. I've always kind of suspected the safety commission was at least a little bit evil, not corrupt, not crooked, but a little bit too strong-armed, like they were trying to make sure that their ideals were met by any means necessary. I'm still fairly convinced that Dobby was actually trained by the safety commission, just like Hawks was as part of some sort of experiment that went very, very wrong. Anyway, 2 days later, Bakugo wakes up in the hospital, and at this point I'm assuming, the entire world's basically gone to heck, and... he's a little confused and a little bit sore, which, makes sense. He was stabbed. A lot of us actually thought he was dead for quite a while. I know that was up to some debate, whether or not he was actually dead. People were saying, oh no, he's the main character. They aren't going to kill him like that. But in my opinion, he reached the zenith of his arc. Him, sacrificing himself for Deku. Him essentially bonding with Deku, becoming his friend. I thought that'd be a great moment for him to pass on. And for Deku to realize, if he goes into this all alone, then he's just going to end up getting his friends hurt when they try and chase after him. He didn't die, at least that was my own theory back then. and he's very, very annoyed that everyone's yelling at him as soon as he wakes up. Oh, Bakugo, I freaking love you. And then we flash over the rest of them. Somehow, Gran Torino is still alive. I do not know how. He was smashed into the ground with the strength of All Might, and the dude's like 80 or 90. He should have died instantly. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure how he's still alive, though I'm assuming it's going to play some sort of role moving forward. It did seem to imply that maybe Shigaraki is his son as well. If so, that could definitely be interesting to see what happens next. And then we see Aizawa's doctor, and he looks like Yoshi. Seriously, this is a super serious scene, and his doctor is a freaking dinosaur, a cartoon dinosaur, which just really takes you out of the moment a little bit. Also, it looks like Aizawa lost his eye, which I was actually theorizing about that before, because in the steampunk color page we got a while back, he had an eye patch. So I'm like, I wonder if he actually lost his eye, and hey, he did! Yay! No, that's not, yay. That's bad. And Mike is, very upset that Midnight was murdered. He's still having a hard time dealing with that, but Aizawa was all about the students, wanting to make sure they're okay, and it does make sense why he's so upset about it. I mean, I'm sure Aizawa is as well. Shoto ended up with them back when they were still in hero school. She was, their senior, helping them out, helping them get their first jobs and all that. They were very close, and I'm sure it's caused them all a lot of pain to have lost her like that. Meanwhile, Todoroki's not in great shape, and for some reason, he can't talk anymore. His throat was burned, and I'm not sure why that is. Everyone's theorizing there must be some sort of reason for it, some sort of purpose for him not being able to talk for the next while. My best guess is so that he can just cry and not have to say anything in the next chapter, which I'll get to in a second. And then outside, we see an entire army of paparazzi demanding to get answers from Endeavor, even though the dude hasn't even freaking woken up yet. God, I hate those people so very, very badly. I mean, seriously, a bunch of criminals were just released from prison. Can any of them just, come over here and, I don't know, just cause a little chaos? You understand what I'm saying? Oh, they are such awful people. Though I suppose it's not just them. A few chapters back, we saw just the regular people demanding a press conference from Endeavor, the very next day, and now we're 3 days later, he still hasn't woken up. Still, can't deliver a press conference because he's not freaking conscious. And then Shoto realizes that it's up to him to go murder his own brother. His father can't do it. I mean, both emotionally, he can't, fight his own son, especially after how much damage he did to him. But also there's the fact that his flames just aren't hot enough to beat Dabi. Though I do think Endeavor might have a chance of winning in a battle of endurance. Like, Dabi's flames are hotter, but he burns himself when he uses them. So if Endeavor gave it all he had and really went at it, I feel like Dabi would eventually, either pass out or just drop dead from the flames that he's burning himself with. Shoto also realizes, there is a connection between him and Dabi. They were very similar. The hatred he has for their father is very similar to the hatred that Dabi had for their father. And before Deku freed him from the hatred, don't forget, Shoto was a much, much darker person. Remember when those villains first attacked UA, and Shoto froze them solid, basically threatening to freeze them straight to death if they didn't give him the answers? Yeah, I somehow can't see him doing that, nowadays. I feel like he's much calmer, much less angry, and, he just wouldn't do that. Get this just great shot of him, just fully acknowledging the fact he has to go murder his brother, which I freaking love. And then, hey, we get to see his brother and sister check in on him, and I just love how quickly Kirishima stands up when a pretty girl enters the room. But then behind them, there is a shadow, and I am definitely calling it. That shadow is his freaking mother! I mean, a lot of people were saying, after all this went through, after she saw all this on the TV, she would be too broken. She'd basically have to be locked up in the psych ward for the rest of her life. But I had a different theory. I was speculating, this would be a catalyst for her. It would cause her to realize that she can't stay around waiting anymore. She has to be there for her family. She has to leave the hospital that she can actually, be there for her kids when they need her. And maybe even for her husband. I know that might seem very, very insane, given that their husband turned their firstborn son into a monster, but I feel like she might not actually blame him for that. I feel like, I've been saying this for a while, but I don't think his family is really going to blame him all that much for creating Dabi, because they went through something very similar, and none of them are serial killers that I know of. I mean, Natsu might be killing homeless people, and we just haven't been told that yet, but as far as I know, Dabi's the only one who became a serial killer, and there are a lot of other ways he could have handled that. Even after faking his own death, he could have gone on to live a very normal, very ordinary life, and not gone around murdering people for fun. But yeah, my hope is definitely, that's his mother next chapter. They're gonna hug, he's gonna cry, she's gonna cry. It's gonna be a great scene. I cannot freaking wait for that. Anyway, then Bakugo goes to check on Deku, who still has not woken up after 3 days and shows no sign of waking up anytime soon. And I don't think this is necessarily a result of his injuries. Instead, I feel like it's more related to One For All and his powers. I feel like right now, he is in the Quirk realm, speaking to the past users, and maybe getting visions of the past, seeing, how All For One came about, who he was before his quirk developed, and he became the most dangerous terrorist in the entire history of the freaking world. Someone so dangerous they have to literally be written out of the history books. God, that's terrifying. And we might even end up getting a glimpse of the epic battle between All For One and All Might, the first battle that scarred both them. I mean, part of All Might's soul is inside of One For All, so Deku should have access to those memories as well. There's also the mystery of the fourth user. I don't think Deku's actually seen him in the quirk realm yet, but he still managed to gain access to his quirk. And there was something about him that All Might didn't want Deku to know, so I'm very, very curious about that. Maybe this will finally be a chance for Deku to, fill in those blanks, get those answers, learn what he needs to learn to take down All For One, once and for all. Also, I really have to wonder, how long is it going to take Shigaraki, to adjust to his new body? Because unless Deku gets a self-healing quirk, I feel like he's going to be in those casts for several months. And then, after that, there's physical therapy to get him back into fighting shape, so yeah, unless Shigaraki takes like an next year or two to settle his body and become strong enough to launch his next attack, I feel like Deku won't actually be ready for it, unless he unlocks some sort of healing quirk partway through. I mean, that's the best guess I have for it. Also, I just want to point out one little thing. There is a buzzer on the bed that you can press to call for the nurses. Deku is in a coma, and both his arms are broken. How exactly is he supposed to press the button? Oh no, I just find that really funny. Also, I just kind of find this inaccurate. There's definitely IV wires going inside of him. At the very least, he should probably be on painkillers for all his broken bones. Yes, he's in a coma, but I'm pretty sure you can still feel pain in a coma. I am not a doctor. I do not know. I think you can still feel pain in a coma. So yeah, my best guess for next chapter, Shoto is going to reunite with his mother. Epic hug, lots of tears. That'll be amazing. Deku's going to, see the past users inside the quirk realm and learn some new things about All For One, about the past users, about how this all came about. Bakugo is going to yell at Deku a lot, even though he stays unconscious. That'll be fun to see. Endeavor might wake up. Not sure about that. I certainly would like to see, Endeavor reuniting with his wife. Her holding his hand, just some small moment. Because I feel like we've reached the point where Endeavor can be fully redeemed. He's suffered enough for his past sins. I'm perfectly fine with him becoming, a happy member of society with his family by his side. He suffered enough. I'm content. Let him have his happy ending. Aizawa is apparently going to need an eye patch moving forward. I'm curious how that's going to affect his quirk, because it always seemed like, it deactivated whenever he blinked, but he never, did one eye at a time, like this, to nullify quirks. So I feel like he might have needed both eyes to activate it, in which case he might, essentially have to retire from being a pro hero moving forward. I'm very curious about that. And again, really hoping it's going to take Shigaraki a very, very long time to settle his body, or the whole world is in a lot of trouble. Oh, also, where is Rappa? That might sound like a weird question, but he appeared heavily in the more recent chapters of Vigilantes, so yeah, I feel like he must have been in one of the prisons that All For One freed, either Tartarus or one of the other ones. I mean, I don't feel like he would end up joining All For One, but at the same time, I don't feel like he'd, let the chance to escape prison pass him by. I feel like, he'd want to get out of there. I don't know, maybe he could meet up with Fat Gum, they could find some sort of strategy for deputizing him as a temporary hero until everything's sorted out. I mean, I don't know, it feels like, there are a lot of villains roaming the street right now, and there are not enough heroes to handle it, so I definitely see the heroes, the government, the Safety Commission, recruiting less dangerous villains to, join their side to take down some of these villains and try to make the streets a little bit safer, maybe? I don't know, at least that's my best guess, but please let me think all this down below. Is Shoto going to murder his brother? I really want to see that fight. I'm very excited for it. And just what do you think's going to happen next? Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next video. And until then, peace!